Today is basically just to give you an overview of some of our solutions that are part of the National Housing Strategy. In 2018, CMHC launched the NHS, which is the first national housing plan ever with respect to with a lot of investment. We're talking about $70 billion to be invested in affordable housing over the next couple of years. And it's interesting because in Quebec, we know not so much about those initiatives. The different developers in Quebec are more often familiar with the SHQ, Société d'Habitation du Québec, and Axélogie program. So that still exists, but now developers have new set of initiatives, new set of solutions that are available for developing affordable housing. So that's why I think it's important to share information. So I've listing here a few of our solutions. The purpose here is just to show you that what we offer covers the entire phases of development, from pre-development to stabilizations. I'm not going to talk about every single one of them. Today, I wanted to focus more on redevelopment, since that's the topic of the day of this workshop. So I'm going to point out, really discuss a few of these solutions that are highlighted in bold over here. So the ones that are in your left are the funding solutions. So it's solutions that where CMHC is a direct lend. We offer like subsidies or loans directly to proponents. And on the right, it's when we play a role in terms of the insurance for a loans that is subscribed with financial institutions. So those are important solutions, and it depends for what purpose or what type of proponents we're talking about. But I'm going to discuss with you a bit more in details with these bold solutions. When we receive projects, so CMHC has a pretty large team. We are not developing ourselves. We're really intermediary. So we're financing new projects. In order to prioritize the different affordable projects, we look at several criteria, several important pieces of a project that we prioritize. So we're interested in like finding out who would be the populations that is targeted. The National Housing Strategy is set to really focus on the most vulnerable populations. That can be including population that is at risk to be homeless, veterans. We're talking about women's victims of violence, family violence, First Nations populations. There's a bunch of groups that are really more vulnerable that are targeted in the National Housing Strategy. That includes also seniors, because I know that you've referenced this group of populations as a target in the West Island as well. We are looking at 5 units plus in terms of the minimum requirement for the type of multi-family, multi-unit projects, I mean. So that's really a minimum. So we're really in the multifamily side of the business. We want, obviously, affordable housing projects. So what is affordable depends on the initiatives. And I can discuss to you a bit more like what do we mean by affordable in terms of the degree. So like how affordable compared, for instance, the median rent, or a percentage of the units of the project that is affordable, and the durations. How long will it be affordable based on the proponent's plan? We are also prioritizing projects that are close to transit and amenities. We want projects that are more efficient in terms of the energy consumptions than what's the code is asking for now. And we also want projects that are more accessible than what is the minimal standard. So those are some of the standard or some of the criteria we use to determine like the scoring of each of the projects that we receive in order to determine which one will be funded. The first initiatives I wanted to discuss is the seed funding. The seed funding really supports proponents for the soft cost part of the project. So before the constructions, there will be various activities, various studies that are part of developing a project. And we can cover these costs with the seed funding. The seed funding exists since before actually the NHS was launched. It's been quite a while and it's been working very well. What's available in terms of the funding, it's through contributions and interest-free loan, depending on the proponent. So if it's a nonprofit organization that is asking for seed funding, there will be a bigger part of contribution compared that if it's a private developer. It's up to $150,000 in contribution per project and up to $350,000 for the loan. This is the maximum, obviously. And who's eligible? Nonprofit, private sector. It's pretty much any organizations that has projects, and it can be for different type of affordable housing projects, from shelter to co-ops to nonprofit housing. It really depends on what the proponent is proposing. So many eligible projects are available. And what does it cover? Well, you've got a few examples of the eligible activities. So basically, site plan, study of soil, those studies that are required really at the beginning of a project before the construction. So a proponent that has an affordable housing project in mind can already discuss with us what their project is and submit an applications to get the seed funding. What's also interesting about this initiative is it can also be combined with other initiatives. So a group could benefit from first the seed funding and then from another initiative. So it's not one or the other. It can be really add one on top of each other. An example I wanted to point out in Gatineau, this was a former elementary school that was no longer required, and a nonprofit organization decided to buy this property and develop it as a center for women victims of violence, and basically build this projects that includes a few dozen of units for this vulnerable populations. The nonprofit organization asked for the seed funding in order to build this site. So it was really like a redevelopment of a site in Gatineau. One of our most important initiatives is the National Housing Co-Investment Fund. This is the most important in the sense that this is where we have the most funding available. The co-investment fund is interesting because it covers two streams: new constructions as well as repair. This is the only initiative that we have that covers those two streams. What you see here are the targets for 2028. So after the 10 years of the NHS, that's what we're expecting to have help in terms of the numbers of units created or repair, and this is across the country. So the National Housing Co-Investment Fund is really targeting those vulnerable populations. So we work a lot with GRT and nonprofit organizations that are trying to submit projects. An interesting part of the co-investment fund is that it can be combined to other funding. For instance, groups are submitting projects under Axélogie, volet 1, 2, or 3, and also ask for a co-investment fund portion to finance their projects. So it can be combined with other financing options that are currently existing. The different types of projects available covers the entire continuum of housing. from like shelter to social or affordable housing projects. The requirements are the same as for the seed funding. We're talking about 5 units and more. It can be a mixed-use projects, but the non-residential part cannot exceed 20% of the space. And there are some requirements in terms of energy efficiency, accessibility, that I'm not going to list here, but we're asking for really projects that are going beyond the minimal code. So really, we want to see the development of a new generation of housing. So we have some targets in terms of like how innovative the project should be compared to a normal development. But in return, we offer grants, so contribution, non-repayable contribution, as well as loan in order to finance these projects. The advantage of the co-investment fund is that it's a combination of loan and forgivable loan as well. The conditions of the loan as well as the contributions are quite interesting, and that's why it can be really advantageous to benefit from this initiatives. So we're talking about the percentage of the loan to cost or the amortization. So those are some of the criteria that can make a project more financially viable compared to not having benefit from these kind of financing. In terms of example of redevelopment, we had some large co-op in Toronto that benefited from the National Housing Co-Investment Fund. They had some major repair with respect to, I think it was ventilations, and they were able to benefit from the co-investment fund in order to fund these major repair to really add value to their building and enhance the quality of life of their residents. The final initiative I wanted to bring about is where we play a role as an insurer. So an organization could seek a loan from a financial institution and then get some guarantee from CMHC. And if it's an affordable housing project, we offer some flexibilities to the insurance we offer. So this can be done for new constructions, for purchase, so purchase of another building, refinancing. It's really through some of the criteria we have that we are more flexible. So it's kind of the same kind of a criteria with respect to the size of the building. And it's applicable for new construction and existing. And what are some of the difference compared to our regular insurance is in terms of the percentage of the loan to cost that we cover. It's up to 95%. Some of the ratio with respect to the debt coverage, which is lower than normal, and the premiums that are reduced. So that can support some proponents that their projects might not be eligible with the co-investment fund, but are still looking for additional help. And that's one way that CMHC can help through this flexibility to the insurance of a loan with financial institutions. So this is really a quick summary of our few initiatives that I wanted to share with you. Please pay attention to my coordinate, email, phone number, because if you do have a project that could be interesting, that you could see some potential and wanted to submit an applications to one of our funding opportunities, so please reach out to me, and I'll be happy to try to see which solution is the best match and discuss your project with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Etienne, for your presentation and that offer of help at the end too. That's much appreciated. So we're running just a teeny tiny behind schedule. So what I propose is that we can open up the group discussion, and also at that time, if anybody does have questions